Hello, so this is a quick tutorial of how to create a very basic, very low poly humanoid in Blender. So this here is for people who have created like a model just out of boxes and just normal sort of shapes. Know yourself around, let's say, how to shrink something or how to increase something in size or how to move something. Okay, so let's get into it. We have our basic cube here. First of all, we need to bring in our reference images. So to bring a reference image into my y-axis and my x-axis, what I need to do is I need to go into that mode. So I need to go over to my x. Now I'm on a computer with no extended keyboard, so I'm going to be using this tool a fair bit in this. I'm now going to go over to add, and I'm going to add an image and make sure it's a reference image. And I have got my images on my desktop. Now I'm going to click on the side image over here, select that one, and I go to my Y, and then I'm going to go to add. I'm going to go to image again, reference, and this time around I'm going to bring my front of my person in. So there we have it. If I go now and press on my middle mouse button and move my mouse around, you will now notice that I have my side view there and my front view of my figure. If I now start modeling this, it's going to be a bit difficult to see what I'm doing within this. So what we usually do is we move this front figure out to the back and the side further out this direction. So let's click on this one here, wrong one, that one there, and we press G to move it. And while I'm moving it, I press Y because I just want to lock it in to the Y direction. I'll now click on this one here, press G to go into the move tool. Don't ask me why it's G for the move tool, but it is. And we press X as we're moving, and that's it. Move it there. So far we have this happening. It's ideal at this stage in time, you should just save your work. At any stage you can rewind this if I'm going too fast. So most of the time we're going to be using our Y, and my mouse just died a little bit. There we go. And we're going to be using our X and Y axes a fair bit in this whole thing. Cool. You notice here that I'm going to be using this because I don't have an extended keyboard. Alright, so we have the front of our person in the background there, and we're going to just use this basic cube to create our humanoid from that. So while we are still in object mode, we click on this cube, and we're now going to move this cube up like this. And what we can do now is rescale this cube. Rescale this cube so that it kind of fits this person's head. Okay. Now you can also scale just in the Y axis. So as I'm scaling, I can just scale in the Y axis. So you can see here that in my 3D view, I've got this happening here. Okay. All right. So what we want to do now is ensure that we reduce the time needed to create our full figure. So since this figure itself is symmetrical, we can go about just solely working on the left side of our figure over here. So that's this person's left side. So let's do that now. We'll set this cube up for that. So we zoom into this cube, and I'm going to press Shift and then middle mouse button to toggle across. And let's see that a little bit easier. I now go into my object mode. Now, if object mode doesn't work, if edit mode doesn't work, you need to select the cube. So edit mode, we go over to our loop cut, and we create one loop cut on this direction, right? So halfway along there. We now go over to the select tool, and we select faces, and we press Option, then click. Selects this loop, let's click on this one next time, right, by pressing Option, then clicking on the side here, and we can see that it has selected all of these round rubber band figure there, okay? We press Shift and then click over here to select this whole half of my cube. We simply don't delete the cube, because if we delete the cube, it's half the cube itself, the cube and is going to be hollow. So we right click now. Sorry, we right click now and we go to Dissolve Faces. And you can see here that it's not hollow. So now we need to set up the mirror editing on this. We go back to Edit Mode and we know that this is all selected. We now go over to our spanner and we add a modifier called Mirror. And we are only going to be editing on our x-axis, not our y. All right, let's go back to our x-axis. Sorry, my y actually, this one here. Okay, so we now need to put a neck in and a few other odds and sods. I might actually reduce this head a little bit more. There we go, and shift it up because we want to have a nice neck there. Okay, there we go. So I'm now going to go into my 3D view. You can press Shift and the middle mouse button to toggle my view and zoom in using the scroll wheel. And I now go back into my edit mode. We go over to loop cut and we can loop cut it this way and loop cut it on other directions as well. So we do a few loop cuts in here. What I want to do is actually have two squares inside here, and we can go from there. We now select the face select, and we select this face here and this small face here. Let's go back into our Y view. So they're still selected. Now go over to extrude region, and we extrude our neck down, right down to the shoulder. Okay. What we can do now is that since we have established this neck, we can select this edge over here, and we can go and move this neck out. So this very much strongly depends on your figure. If they're quite muscular, you'll do this. So we move out this neck a little bit. You can add another poly there later on, but this will suffice for the time being. There we go. Okay, so the neck is this person doesn't really have a neck. Oh, this person actually does have a neck there, but we can fix this up later on. All right, so let's see how we're going now. All right, so now what we can do is we can extrude this down. Okay, so we can view most of our model here, and we're going to go back into 3D mode. And we're going to select the base. Oops, we need to use the face selection. And we select this, and we're going to go back into our Y. And then we're going to extrude it down here. So you can use shortcut keys for this. I'm not, just to make it easy for you to see. So we extrude down to the base of the bust, and then we extrude down to the groin area there. Don't worry about the legs just yet. We're simply worrying about the arms and the main torso section there. We're now going back into 3D mode over here, into the 3D view over here, and we can extrude out our arms now. Right, so you notice here that the arm kind of starts there as the armpit, which is in line, so that the nipple there is in line with the armpit itself. So see how this is not in the right location. What we can do is we go into the select tool and we press Option or Alt on the PC, and we can click on this edge. That's not the edge there. Now Option, then click on that edge, and it wraps around that selection there. All right, so we can now move this up, that loop cut up, so it's in line with the nipple there. Okay, so next we need to create the arm, and we're going to do the extrude here again. This time round we're going to go to the face, and we're going to select these two faces. We go back into our Y, and we bring it out to here where the armpit is, and we extrude again for the actual arm cup itself, okay? Cool. There we go. Now we can select these two over here to bring the arm down, and we bring it an extrusion down to where the elbow is, then to the wrist, and then now down to the hand. And we go on from there pretty much, right? So once we have done those things there, we've got that there, we can now start working on the legs, right? But we can fix this up a little bit first though. We can create some more detail over here by loop cutting some more of this figure over here, okay? And we can start putting some of that sort of more muscular sort of tone into this figure. All right, so if we go over to the edge select, go to the move tool, and we can select this edge over here. We go back into our Y, and we can simply move this across here like that. We do the same thing here for the rest of the torso as well. Here we go. We're just after a rough sort of torso for the time being, and then we'll move on, creating some more contrast in there too. So not contrast, more detail in there. All right. So here we go. That's just a staff member needing to go to the toilet. Okay, so just going to bring the hip in just now. There we go. So now we can create our legs. I'm going to put another loop cut in here. I love loop cuts. Let's put a few in, shall we? There we go. So we have another 3 loop cuts in there. This could be this section here could be for the groin, and the rest could be there for the leg as well. Okay, and here we're going to select these 4 faces. In fact, we'll select these 6 faces, and we'll just leave these 2 free to just be there for the time being. We can move this in and make that into the crutch area there. And so now I'm just going to go back to my normal Y view right over here, and I'm going to now extrude this down, giving us our knee, and then the G, create ankles, and then finally our feet as well. Cool. So understanding this basic sort of concept, we can move between these different views, create more edges and more vertices, for example, and create a lot more detail in our body. This cube, if I were you, I would put this into a collection of its own. That'll be all. Thank you. Bye.